Oh, I'm not even. Yeah, you're gonna see some weird shit right now. Where the fuck is that? No, no. Oh, yeah. Wait, where is it? Wait, shit. Where? Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry. I have so many things to make this lighting shit work. So, oh, you are seeing behind the scenes things. Anyway, welcome. How are you? I just ate. I like speedrun eating, so I'm kind of like I ate so much too. Oh god. I'm like in a post-feeding haze. Um But yeah, welcome. I'm Aries. We are reading The Disabled Tyrant's Beloved Pet Fish. There's a little scuff in the beginning. Don't mind it. It's just, it is what it is. It is what it is. That's how we roll here. And we are on chapter 27. We're on chapter 27. Sorry, I'm a little silly today. I just woke up and I just ate, so I literally just told you that, but whatever. If I get a bit sniffly or something, I don't know, something's going on with my allergies. I am home alone for a bit and I have to take care of the dogs, which means that the dogs sleep with me. Yay! Well, one of the dogs, and she triggers my allergies quite a bit. So if you hear me sniffling, which I will be doing, and I am currently doing, clearly, just know there's a reason, and I'm not just doing it to piss you off. Ooh, that'd be weird if you thought that. But yeah, let me get some tea. It should be cool by now. Not cool, but you know. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Hope you have some tea too. Hope you have something to do. And let's get reading. Which one was my... I don't remember how to do things anymore. I like, my brain is just not working. Okay, there it is. Okay. Nope. Yeah. There it is. Okay. We are a third of the way through this book. I don't want it to end. I don't want it to end. I'm scared. I can't end. Ah, it's so cute. Their illustrations are too cute. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. They're gonna be so gay since we're at a third, you know, since we only have a third left, I assume that we're gonna at least get a little bit of a smooch. Maybe, eventually. I mean, there are more volumes to this, but this, it doesn't seem like too much of a slow burn so far. So far, this fish is very upfront about how beautiful and how alluring this guy is to him. And he very clearly got jealous the last couple of chapters. Alright, let me get situated. We usually go on for about an hour and about like 45 minutes or something. I don't go by page numbers, I just go by time and how long my voice can last, and it's usually about there. So, oh my god, I want to get to that part. There's an illustration in, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters. Damn it, I think we might have to save that for next time, but yeah, we usually get about 3 or 4 chapters in. Oop, I got a notification. Who's texting me? Who's texting me? I might have to charge it. What the fuck is this? Alright, there's nothing. Alright, let's get started. Chapter 27. Fish as solitary as snow. Brr, I haven't warmed up my mouth actually. All right, I might be a little bit jumbled and mumbled, but I'll try my best. Hope you can deal with that. Okay. Prince Jing deciding to keep him in a crystal bottle and take him everywhere was both lucky and unlucky for Liu. The Tyrant master worrying fish. Sorry, creaking. I'm moving my mic a little bit. Okay. The Tyrant master worrying about his fish's safety was obviously a sign of affection. Liu was touched, but if he was spending all his time in a bottle with a lid, it would be impossible for him to turn into a human. By the time he realized this, though, he'd already been carried around for most of the day. The outside world was just so enticing. Liu had never thought he'd be able to spend a day looking around like this as a fish, so he kept his fish eyes open, swimming idly in his bottle and taking in the sights. Everyone greeted him properly when they saw him, satisfying little Liu's modest ego. Okay, sure, they were actually greeting Prince Jing, but it felt good to pretend once in a while. Prince Jing liked to take his fish around with him too, since it was convenient. The fish tank was so heavy that the person had to be specifically assigned to carry it. T-bowls or regular T-bowls were too shallow, and the fish could fall out if he wasn't careful. The crystal bottle solved all of these problems. He could even bring it into the palace with him. Having experienced the benefits for himself, Prince Jing wanted to keep the fish in the crystal bottle. I turned 2 pages. At first, Liu was pretty happy with this, but a couple of days passed and he realized Prince Jing had no intentions of putting him back into the fish tank at all. He was actually trapped in here. He was much less pleased with this development. The bottle allowed him to stay with his master all the time, but he couldn't do any of his missions or turn into a human. He could only watch as opportunities rushed past him, not to mention how uncomfortable it was. A fish trapped in a bottle was as solitary as a flake of snow. He had to get Prince Jing to understand that the bottle might be convenient, but it'd be better if he didn't stay in here for too long, for the sake of his mental health and physical health. At first, he wanted to take extreme measures to demonstrate his dissatisfaction. He thought about trying to scare Prince Jing by flipping upside down and showing his underbelly, but then he saw Prince Jing order Wang Ji to affix a chain to the bottle's handle and wrap the chain around his hand a few times so that he wouldn't drop and break the crystal bottle. Prince Jing's palm turned red from the strain. The little carp's heart felt a bit sore and tender. Being uncomfortable because he was trapped in a bottle was one thing, but it was far more uncomfortable, heartbreaking even, to see Prince Jing in such pain for his sake. Liu didn't want to scare him anymore. Prince Jing had never had a pet before, so he had no way of knowing what a fish would want. Putting Liu in a bottle was intended as a kind gesture. All he had to do was somehow let Prince Jing know that he didn't like being in there. It wasn't like he had a grudge against the prince or anything, so he ought to find a better way than making him scared his fish had died. Leo suppressed his curiosity toward the outside world and floated peacefully at the bottom of the bottle. The little carp was usually lively and active, so when he became quiet and peaceful, it was a noticeable change. The moment Prince Jing glanced at Liu, he was immensely confused. His fish was in high spirits just now, so why had he become listless all of a sudden? Worried that the hole at the top might be blocked, Prince Jing checked it not once, but twice. There was nothing wrong with the crystal bottle, but the fish was still lethargic, and he wasn't perking back up. Prince Jing ordered the servant who'd raised fish before to come over, afraid that the fish was sick again. Every time this servant was called over to diagnose the fish, it was always a false alarm. This time was no different. He held the crystal bottle and looked him over several times, but he didn't see anything wrong with the fish. Prince Jing's fish was fine, as usual. However, the servant had kept many pets before and knew that they didn't like being cooped up. So he mustered his courage to tell Prince Jing, in tactful terms, that Master Fish wasn't used to being sealed in a bottle all the time. After all, the crystal tank After all, the crystal tank the fish was originally kept in was quite large. Switching him to a smaller vessel meant his swimming range would become narrower, and eventually he wouldn't want to move anymore. The servant felt a little regretful after he spoke. It had been Prince Jing's idea to put his fish in a crystal bottle, but Prince Jing also insisted that he tell the truth, putting the servant in a tough spot. But Prince Jing nodded, understanding what the servant meant. So that was it. So that's what it was. The crystal bottle was convenient for taking his fish around, but he couldn't let him stay in there all the time, or Zhao Yu would become unhappy. He had to consider what the fish wanted too. But he couldn't leave his poor fish alone in his room, helpless against thieves. Prince Jing came up with a compromise quickly. He ordered fish tanks and larger tea bowls to be placed around his residence in the spots he often frequented. That way the fish could still accompany him. Once he arrived at his destination, the fish would be taken out of the crystal bottle and placed inside a nearby fish tank or tea bowl. Problem solved. Liu only had to pretend to be listless for about 2 hours before he found out he had achieved his goals. He could spend more of his time in fish tanks now. Prince Jing opened the lid of the bottle and placed the bottle in the fish tank himself. The little carp finally stopped wilting and jumped out of the crystal bottle like an arrow shot from a bow. It was better for fish to stay in fish tanks. Liu sighed with emotion as he swam comfortably. He looked back at the bottle, which was still in the tank. In the tank? It wasn't that he didn't like staying with Prince Jing all the time. After all, that was part of his master's kindness. To show his gratitude, Liu danced a special seaweed dance around the crystal bottle, trying his hardest to show Prince Jing what he felt. The bottle was great, and he was happy to follow Prince Jing around as long as he wasn't constantly trapped inside it. Prince Jing, of course, could tell that his fish liked it. He smiled and softly pinched the fish's slippery back. The human and the fish had reached a compromise. Hold on. Liu had spent a good while celebrating this turn of events, but the realization abruptly hit him that even if he got to be in a fish tank instead of a bottle, he was still with Prince Jing 24/7. What was he going to do? He still had no way to transform. Had his once-a-day transformation skill functionality become a none-a-day transformation skill? Stupid. Liu's head hurt. Should he let Prince Jing know that the thief and the one Prince Jing thought was going to hurt his fish was actually him? No. Right now his plan to save others was more important than the stress that came with not being able to transform. Okay, I lost my place. Liu's plan to save Shizi. Okay, here I think it's Shizi or it's Shizu. I don't know. I still don't know, and I'm gonna be saying it wrong every single time. What was I doing? Liu's plan to save Yeshiji had already been implemented. Over the last couple of days he spent in the crystal bottle, he'd heard Wang Ji tell Prince Jing that the people of the house of Chang'an had already started to keep an eye on the movements of the second and sixth princes. Just as Ye Qinghuan had promised, Liu's goal... Oh, that was a one-sentence paragraph, so, like, why did I even... why did I merge those two? Okay, it's fine. Just as Ye Qinghuan had promised. Liu's goal in sending the letter was to alert the House of Chang'an. Without the romance storyline between Prince Jing and the little concubine, he wasn't actually sure if Ye Shizi's betrothal to the Ginger princess would still end up happening. He tried his best to give a shortened version of events in the letter. It didn't matter if this plot didn't end up happening, or if the letter was treated as fake, as long as the House of Chang'an didn't fall into the trap the second and sixth princes set for them. Though Prince Jing kept getting in his way, and his identity was constantly in danger of being exposed, Liu thought the rescue mission went pretty smoothly. But there was no notification of completion for the impenetrable defense mission to save Yeshizi. If there was no notification, then it meant that the mission wasn't complete. Liu's main goal was the saving people part. Finishing the side quest and receiving the rewards was less important. But when he thought about it, did it mean that it wasn't enough to alert the House of Chang'an by sending them a letter? Was it possible that Yeshizi might still suffer the same tragic fate as he did in the original book? He'd made up his mind to save others, so he shouldn't have asked it. But if sending a letter wasn't enough, what else could he do? In the original book, Liu remembered that the trap that doomed Ye Qinghuan was sprung in the palace. Okay, sorry. I thought an ad was running. In the original book, Liu remembered that the trap that doomed Ye Qinghuan was sprung in the palace just a couple of days after the Dragon Boat Festival. He mentioned it in the letter, but he wasn't sure how Ye Qinghuan would react, so he figured the most direct solution would be to stop Ye Shizi from entering the palace during this period of time. The farther he was from the trap, the better. But stopping Ye Shizi from entering the palace was even harder than writing and sending him a letter. He might have been able to stop Prince Jing from going, but his fins were too short to reach Ye Qinghuan, who lived in Chang'an Manor. Liu worried so hard that his fish head hurt. He would suffer scale loss from thinking too hard. Would he suffer scale loss from thinking too hard? If you thought about it, he thought dizzily. Hadn't he already gone bald? Because he's a fish? Stupid! God. Luckily, Prince Jing had the same thoughts he did. Wang Ji had only said that the House of Chang'an had made preparations, but Prince Jing had no idea what Ye Qinghuan was planning to do, so he ordered someone to grab Ye Shizi and bring him over. Wang Ji gave him a good scolding on behalf of Prince Jing. Ye Shizi was a little dejected, just when he thought Prince Jing had finally started to care for him. Prince Jing also wanted Ye Qinghuan to avoid the palace for those couple of days. As expected from my master, thought Liu, who was listening excitedly from the fish tank. They were truly kindred spirits. Ye Shizi would listen to Prince Jing, right? But Ye Qinghuan shook his head and refused. Tianchi, I can't just not enter the palace because of what was written in that letter. Ye Qinghuan knew that Prince Jing was only suggesting this because he was worried about him, but he also knew that he couldn't refuse to enter the palace for no reason. For one thing, it was an imperial edict. Keeping his guard up on account of the letter was one thing, but if he deceived the emperor or refused to obey an edict because of a few words on an unproven letter from an anonymous source, his parents, and the entire House of Chang'an for that matter, would never forgive him. I will do as I always have, said Ye Qinghuan with an easy smile. I'd like to see how those people plan to harm me. Seriously, what a stubborn idiot. Prince Jing judged Ye Qinghuan for his recklessness, but after a moment of thought, he gave Wang Ji a meaningful glance. Wang Ji was almost moved to tears. Yeshizi, don't worry. His Highness has decided to enter the palace with you when the time comes. As long as His Highness is there, you'll be fine. Tianchi, thanks so much. Ye Qinghuan was momentarily touched. Prince Jing was normally so indifferent to others. He wanted to step forward and pat his older cousin on the shoulder, but Prince Jing waved him away, aggravated. Liu felt like this was familiar somehow. A sparkly expression on Yeshizi's face, and the way he looked like he was barely restraining himself from rushing to Prince Jing, even though he'd just been rejected. He thought carefully for a moment. Wasn't he just like Zhongfeng? Zhongfeng always wanted to poke him with his nose. Liu would hide, afraid, but even through the crystal, Zhongfeng wouldn't give up on poking him. He took another look at Yeshizi. It was like he'd grown a tail, just like Zhongfeng's. Liu could almost see it wagging happily behind him. Pfft, dogs really do take after their masters. In the original book, Prince Jing didn't accompany Ye Qinghuan to the palace. Now that Prince Jing was going to go with him, they could take care of each other. But now that me speaking, but now that he's going with him, would they not try to set up Prince Jing as well? Maybe. I can see this taking a turn for the worst. Liu felt much more at ease, and since Prince Jing had been taking his fish wherever he went lately, Liu was definitely going to enter the palace too. He'd be able to keep an eye on Ye Shiji in person. What are you gonna do? 10 days later, as the Dragon Boat Festival approached, the king of the country of Jinju came to the imperial city to have an audience with the emperor. The emperor had a military... Nope, that's not right. The emperor had a ministry of rights arranged at... The emperor had the Ministry of Rights arrange a banquet with King Jinju in the Taihe Hall. Or Taihe? I don't know. It's probably Taihe. Since it was an imperial banquet, Prince Jing and Ye Qinghuan had been invited as well. When they saw the 16-year-old girl next to King Jinjue greet the emperor, the two of them looked at each other in silent understanding. So this was the princess of Jinju. It was just as the anonymous informant had said. These people in the letter had named who they thought had nothing to do with them. We're really starting to what is going on? Bruh. These people the letter had named, who they thought had nothing to do with them, were really starting to show up. Prince Jing and Ye Qinghuan both tensed up. The emperor had received a letter from King Jinju recently, saying he wanted his youngest princess to marry into the imperial dynasty. Diplomatic relations between the two countries were good, so the emperor readily agreed. As for who the princess was to marry, the emperor mentally went through a list of men in the imperial city of the appropriate age. The highest-ranking options were obviously his princes, but since Princess Jinju was a foreigner, it wasn't proper for her to become a prince's court. King Jinju had mentioned in his letter that the princess did not want to become a concubine either. The emperor thought of Prince Jing. Prince Jing was unmarried and couldn't inherit the throne, so it would be possible for him to marry Prince Jinju. But he immediately dismissed the idea. Since Prince Jing was mute, the princess might not like him. Hey! The princess might not like the ones talking more. I don't want... Ugh. I'd imagine she'd like the one that can't talk more. Just saying. Just saying. What's more, since he hadn't chosen a crown prince yet, that meant Prince Jing held the de facto highest status as the D prince. If he let Prince Jing marry a foreigner, then how would he arrange the other princes' marriages? The emperor decided to not choose from the princes and turned his sights towards other sons of noble families that matched Princess Jinju. It wasn't long at all before Ye Shiji from the house of Chang'an came to his attention. There, in Taihe Hall, the emperor smiled and said, "Ye Shiji, I'm putting the safety of King Jinju and the princess in the imperial city in your hands." Okay. Sorry, that sentence was weird. For me, at least. I don't know. Ye Qinghuan felt his blood run cold. He gritted his teeth and knelt to accept the edict. Once he sat down at the banquet, Prince Jing took out the crystal bottle from his sleeve. God. The etiquette at the imperial banquet was complicated, and he wasn't sure if his little fish had been stuck for too long. He hadn't wanted to bring the fish into the palace at first, but the little carp swam into the crystal bottle and refused to come out, staring right at him with eyes like shining black jade. Prince Jing smiled. He had no choice but to shove the crystal bottle, with the fish inside, into his sleeve. He had no choice. He had absolutely no choice. Oh, God. When he took the crystal bottle out, everyone around him was shocked. Did Prince Jing take a fish with him everywhere he went? Most of them had seen the large crystal tank Prince Jing had moved out with, and for a while they were rendered speechless. The second prince, who was sitting among the other princes, chatting and laughing happily with others while looking very crown princely, turned pale the moment he laid eyes on this fish. Second prince, we meet once more. Liu flapped his tail casually at Mu Tianxiao. He was going to ruin the second prince's plans again. And that's the end of the chapter. That's the end of the chapter. Pretty much just set up here in that chapter. The next chapter, chapter 28, is called Can't Eat the Fish. Can't eat the fish. Sorry, my throat's already kind of like tight. Ew, actually, don't don't say that. It's already tense? I don't know how to explain it. It's just it's not been working out. But I was doing a lot of recording yesterday, so it is very tired. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to cross my legs under my desk while I have a plushie in my lap, so I'm kind of like squeezing everything. And by everything, I mean me. Myself. Alright, chapter 28. Can't eat the fish. When Prince Jing took out the crystal bottle, Wang Ji, not far behind him, stepped forward and placed a small fish tank carved from coral on his table. Clear water had already been prepared in advance, so Prince Jing rolled up his sleeve and put the fish into the water himself, watching him swim about freely for a bit. Prince Jing glanced at Wang Ji, wanting to feed the fish. Wang Ji took out a bamboo box of fish food and handed it to Prince Jing. He then turned around and glanced at the servants who'd accompanied him. One by one, they brought over the pastries that they'd carried over from Prince Jing's residence and placed them neatly in front of the fish tank. Prince Jing took 2 pieces of fish food and dropped them into the tank. Then he took a peach blossom pastry and split it in half, crushing one half for his little fish and eating the remaining half as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened. God, just get over. With nothing to do but carefully watch Prince Jing feed his fish, the onlookers wondered if they were going blind or perhaps mad. Was this the real Prince Jing? After Prince Jing placed him in the fish tank, Liu docilely rubbed himself against Prince Jing's fingers. The fish food and peach blossom pastry floated towards the bottom. The little carp was getting tired of the same old thing lately. He guzzled the peach blossom pastry first, and when he was half full, he started on the fish food. Seeing how happily the little fish was eating, Prince Jing took another type of dessert, a yin-dan pastry, and broke it into pieces to feed him. Liu was happy to try a new food, so he gave it a taste. The new pastry tasted like peppermint, with a cooling sensation that rushed straight to his head. As a human, he would have liked it, but he couldn't stand it as a fish. Liu took a bite and tossed it away, then happily went back to the peach blossom pastry. Prince Jing watched. It was clear that his fish didn't like the yin-dan pastry. Well, yeah, don't give him something fucking pepperminty, stupid. I don't know what a yin-dan pastry is, though. I should look it up. There's no need to prepare this pastry anymore. Huh? Okay. This was so confusing to me. It said, there's no need to prepare this pastry anymore, he said. Prince Jing is mute, so he obviously didn't say that. Wang Gonggong, known for understanding Prince Jing so well he might as well be a mind reader, immediately ordered the servants to note that down. The servants nodded repeatedly. So it was like Prince Jing speaking through Wang Ji. That tripped me up. The people sitting around Prince Jing were astounded. Ye Qinghuan was the only one who didn't find it weird. As music played around them, the second prince Mu Tianjiao stood. The Ministry of Rites had arranged for the oldest prince and the second prince. What? Had arranged for the oldest prince, the second prince, to lead the others in toasting King Jinzhi at the imperial banquet. Mu Tianjiao was a natural conversationalist and was graceful and dignified, so his conversation with King Jinzhi was quite joyous. King Jinzhi praised Mu Tianjiao and drank 3 cups in a row. The emperor was satisfied with Mu Tianjiao's attitude. When King Jinzhi praised the second prince, the emperor looked good too. Being capable and proper was another of the second prince's strong points. Mu Tianjiao could tell that the emperor was in a good mood, and he gazed at the smaller figure beside King Jinzhi with a smile. Bitch, don't even look at her. He'd suffered several setbacks in succession recently. Goodness gracious, that's a mouthful. And the emperor wasn't really pleased with him. But the spy he'd placed in Tianchi Palace had really sent him a message that King Jinzhi planned to marry his... had recently... Christ, was... My brain is not on, it's not on. My brain is not on. But the spy he'd placed in Tianchi Palace had recently sent him a message that King Jinzhi planned to marry his princess off during the visit. Mu Tianjiao. Whoa. Sorry, my tea got stuck in my throat. For just a second. Mu Tianjiao had put in quite a lot of effort to restore the relationship between himself and Prince Jing, but Prince Jing ignored every one of his attempts. Mu Tianjiao wanted to win over the House of Chang'an, but Prince Jing and the House of Chang'an were clearly on the same side. He'd suffered defeat at Prince Jing's hands before, and the House of Chang'an treated him coldly as well. He'd heard that the third prince had successfully placed a concubine in Prince Jing's residence, and he was afraid that the third prince would get to Prince Jing first and gain the support of the House of Chang'an. Mu Tianjiao knew he had no chance of winning over Prince Jing, and he had to find support elsewhere. However, the emperor was always keeping an eye on his sons, so he couldn't be too obvious about what he was doing. That was when this marriage presented itself at his doorstep. Mu Tianjiao had it all figured out. Jinzhi was a small bordering country, but they had money and troops, so if he married the princess of Jinzhi, her kingdom wouldn't support the other princes over him. Wouldn't support... Okay, I got it. It didn't click for a second. If this panned out, his position would be hard to shake even if the emperor ended up taking issue with him. As for the princess of Jinzhi, just becoming his side consort would be a huge honor for her. He could even promise her that she could become a noble consort once he ascended the throne. That would be more than enough for the king of Jinzhi. I don't think so. Originally, he'd been thinking that even if the little princess was ugly, he'd accept her in exchange for Jinzhi's support. But when he got a look at her during the imperial banquet, he found she was stunningly beautiful. She had a different kind of beauty than the woman in his own country. Mu Tianzhao was more willing than ever to go through with his plan. Bitch. Princess, Mu Tianzhao gestured for someone to bring a plate of dessert, and softly said, "This is our famous butterfly pastry. Please have a taste." As its name suggested, butterfly pastries were made in the shape of a butterfly with its wings spread out, and the pastries came in pairs, symbolizing a century-long good marriage. Mu Tianzhao wanted to make the first move to show others that the Princess of Jinzhi was going to be his and ensure that any other suitor backed off. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Keep dreaming, bro. The Emperor noticed that the second prince seemed to have fallen in love with the foreign princess. He had wanted the Duke of Chang'an's son and the Princess of Jinzhi to marry, but judging by Ye Qinghuan's solemn expression on receiving the decree, he wasn't very interested in the princess. Hmm. I had theories before, and now. I wonder why. Where was I? What the fuck? The Emperor wasn't going to make them marry right away, but he'd been thinking he'd test the waters again with Ye Qinghuan and discuss the matter with the House of Chang'an too. But then the second prince popped up all of a sudden. The Emperor was a little irritated, but he decided not to blame the second prince. It wasn't as if his son could read his mind, after all. He'd already rejected the idea of marrying the princess to one of his princes. So if the second prince had such intentions, he wouldn't get very far unless the Princess of Jinzhi asked to be a side consort herself. That, he supposed, could be a possibility. If the second prince wanted this marriage, then he'd need to have a few tricks up his sleeve. The Emperor wanted to see how Mu Tianzhao would handle this, so he didn't try to stop him. King Jinzhi ordered the butterfly pastry to be served to the princess, but the little princess just smiled and didn't try reaching for the dessert. Mu Tianzhao thought that the princess didn't know what the butterfly meant and was just about to take the opportunity to show off a little when he noticed that the princess wasn't looking at him at all. She was staring at something in the distance with that pretty face of hers. What? Feeling humiliated, Mu Tianzhao didn't rush to speak again. His eyes couldn't help but follow the princess's gaze, only to see Prince Jing feeding his fish from the table full of desserts as the fish lay on the edge of the fish tank, wagging its tail. So the princess was looking at the fish! The fish that brought disaster whenever the second prince saw him. Every time the fish flipped its tail, the princess smiled. Mu Tianzhao secretly hated this fish. He didn't want to be rude during the imperial banquet, so when he saw that Prince Jing had brought that wretched thing, he tried to pretend it didn't exist. But somehow, this fish of misfortune had entered his line of sight again. The Princess of Jinzhi smiled so hard she blushed and whispered to King Jinzhi occasionally. The second prince could only hear the word fish spoken softly, and nothing else. But that was enough for him. He was certain that the stupid fish had stolen his stage again. The Princess of Jinzhi had no taste. How could a fish raised by a mute prince compare with him, a future crown prince? Mu Tianzhao glanced at the Emperor. The Emperor had also noticed Prince Jing feeding the fish. Due to the commotion around him, but instead of berating him, the Emperor smiled as if he was happy to see Prince Jing busying himself with his pet. Mu Tianzhao felt the vine of jealousy taking root within his heart. Eee! Oh my god! It's so cute! There is art of Princess Jinzhi blushing and smiling, looking at Prince Jing feeding his fish, and Mu Tianzhou is angry. And there's someone in the background with a tray with a little question mark above his head. I don't know who that is, but it's so silly. We're almost at the end of the chapter, but I do need some more tea, like post haste. So I'm gonna take a break here. We might also have a little bit of a shorter stream today, just because my throat's not feeling very well. But yeah, I will be right back. I'm just gonna go refresh my tea a bit, and yes, I'll see you like in 5 minutes. BRB. I'm back. I have more tea. How was your ad? I did run an ad right before I did that on purpose. Um, just so we wouldn't miss anything while we're reading. I have tea again. I do want to have this cool down a little. Gay. You're gay. You're gay. I do want to. I want to drink a sip of tea before I start reading again. Cause my throat's real scratchy. Scratchy. Welcome back. Thanks. I'm glad to be back. How are Aries BTT? I'm good. How you? I'm alright. I'm chilling. I'm taking care of the dogs, so I have to feed them twice a day. Instead of it being like a split responsibility. So my sleep schedule is a bit silly. I sleep at like 8 a.m. and then have to wake up before 7 p.m. to feed the dogs. That's silly. It's still too hot. Burnt out. It's fine. I just didn't burn that much. We're good. Alright, let's read again. It's so silly. They're so silly. He brought his fish to the banquet and he's feeding it at the table in a little cute bowl. It's so cute. No, I don't want to know. Like, please, no, spare me. Spare me. Alright. Starting on page 295 again. I don't know why the accent, but... He was the respected second prince and the future crown prince, but he wasn't able to do anything about the fish. Mu Tianzhao sat back, frustrated, his expression turning dark. Even though he was silent for a while, nobody paid him any attention. Thus, the second prince gave a couple of orders to the servant in charge of his food. The servant went to carry out his order and came back after a while, holding a bowl in his hand that contained a little soup. The servant knelt down, trembling. Your Highness, the kitchen didn't prepare carp soup today. They can start making it now, but it will take quite some time. For now I brought white jade meatball soup, in case the wait is too long. Would your Highness please at least have some? The servant spoke quietly, but there was no getting around the people nearby who was determined to pay attention to the second prince. Mu Tianming was seated close to the second prince, and he called out, Second brother, are the dishes at the banquet not to your liking? Why do you want to drink carp soup all of a sudden? I wonder. Again, the illustration on the other page is so cute. He's just happily feeding his fish. Oh my god, the fish is popping out of the bowl to get the food. It's too cute. I'll cry. I'll cry. I'll cry. I'll cry. Mu Tianming deliberately raised his voice as he said the word carp. Oh. 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 Dogs have something to say about that. Most people, after staring in surprise at the second prince, looked at Prince Jing's direction afterwards, because Prince Jing was the only one with the carp right now. Liu in his fish tank lifted his head and cocked it embarrassingly. Ah, I'm so shy. Does the second prince want to make me into soup? But I'm still nibbling on the food my master has given me. Stupid. Mu Tianzhao was silent. He could feel Prince Jing's ice-cold eyes look over, and for some reason, he felt panicked, but he didn't even do anything. He gritted his teeth. Third brother, you're overthinking it. I just wanted to drink soup because I suddenly became thirsty. His heart felt like it was twisting in on itself. Why was everyone berating him for just wanting to drink some fish soup? Prince Jing shot a cold look at Mu Tianzhao. Wang Ji was silent as he stood beside him, but he had already started cursing Wu Tianzhao in his heart on Prince Jing's behalf. The emperor knit his brows. Wanting to drink fish soup wasn't a problem, but since Prince Jing was the only one who'd brought a fish, the target of that specific request was rather obvious. Perhaps the second prince just hadn't anticipated that the third prince would expose his little act out of anger. Let's go, third prince. The emperor had an extremely good impression of the little carp. The way Prince Jing cared for his pet made the emperor fond of it too. He thought the second prince was being a little too emotional. The Princess of Jinjia had been staring at Prince Jing's fish just now after watching it all this time. She had also come to like the fish. When she realized that the second prince wanted to drink fish soup, she immediately stood up and angrily said, Your Highness, how could you drink fish soup in front of such a cute fish? I didn't think you were that type of person. 1 second, I gotta open the door for the dog. Gotta open the door for the dog. Gotta open the door for the dog. Open the door for the dog. The dog. Hi, dog. I'm gonna leave this open a little. A dog. A dog. Do you want to sit on my lap while I read? You wanna? Oh dear. Come here. Come here. Oh, here you go, girl. I have a dog on my lap. I have a dog. She's so upset that her people left her. Because I'm home alone right now. Alright. Oh, your breath stinks. Oh, you want pets? Okay. I didn't think you were that type of person. To be honest, when the second... Oh, stop licking me. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Gross. To be honest, when the second prince had handed her that Stop it! That's my hand! I'm trying to hold the book. Sorry, this is really distracting. She keeps licking my hand. Ugh. To be honest, when the second prince had handed her that butterfly pastry, the Princess of Jinjia had actually been rather unimpressed. She was young, but she could tell that the second prince was just trying to use her and Jinjia. She was also well aware that she'd be relegated to the position of a side consort if she married him. She wasn't stupid. Weirdo. A position like that, where she could be easily thrown away, wasn't worth the country of Jinju's wholehearted support. What's more, there was no guarantee— Stop licking me, please! You're a freak. Okay, thank you. Where was I? What's more, there was no guarantee that the second prince could really ascend the throne. Ma'am? You were so chill. Just lie down. Just lie down. Be chill. Stop licking my leg. Please. Let me get through a paragraph. Stop. No. What's more, there was no guarantee that the second prince could really ascend to the throne, or when that would actually happen. Ginger didn't necessarily want to get involved in the conflict between the princes, so she had ignored the second prince. And when she learned that he wanted to secretly drink fish soup, the bold little princess jumped out to give his ego a couple of stomps, even though no one else was willing to speak up. And at the same time, she used this opportunity to hint to the emperor that she wasn't willing to enter a marriage with the second prince. Don't even think about it. Princess, you've misunderstood. That's not what happened. Mu Tianzhao was speechless. His heart filled with anger, and he didn't know how to explain himself anymore. He didn't actually want to drink fish soup in front of the fish. He wanted to butcher the fish and make it into soup instead. Was he supposed to tell her that? It was clear to the Emperor that the Princess of Ginger didn't have any intentions toward the second prince, so it would be better if the second prince refrained from using such dishonorable means. To put it nicely, he was trying to get into the princess's good graces, but to put it bluntly, he had failed to attract her. Earlier the Emperor had thought the second prince... Earlier the Emperor had thought the second prince... I lost my place, and then I lost it again. Earlier the Emperor had thought the second prince was earning him respect, but now he felt like the second prince's actions had slapped him in the face. Ye Qinghuan was definitely more suitable. The Emperor looked over at Ye Shizi, who was sitting quietly at a short distance from Prince Jing, and silently gave him a stamp of approval for being so mature and steady. He decided to keep the Duke of Chang'an and Ye Shizi. What? He decided to keep the Duke of Chang'an and Ye Shizi after the banquet to speak to them alone. The second prince soon learned that the Emperor planned to marry the princess to the Duke of Chang'an's son, and was already meeting with the Duke of Chang'an to discuss it. So they were all in cahoots. Meanwhile, he was immensely humiliated at the imperial banquet and didn't gain anything from it. The princess rejected him, the Duke of Chang'an refused to help him, and Prince Jing and his fish were laughing at him. The second prince had endured too much for too long. It was time to make a move. This is what I thought. This is what I thought was going to happen. How did I know? How did I know? That's the end of the chapter, by the way. The next chapter, chapter 29, is called A Courageous and Ambitious Fish. He's ambitious, alright. Alright, dog has settled. She is just sleeping. She's gonna make my legs go numb. But she's not licking anymore, so that's good. Alright. Chapter 29. What if I spoke in a British accent? Like, read these in a British accent? An expressionless Ye Qinghuan sat down. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'll do like a David Attenborough. Burrow. This will probably be the last chapter, by the way, of this stream. It's about 10 pages. And then the next one, there's an illustration. I'm not actually gonna say it, but I'm excited for the next time. Ooh. An expressionless Ye Qinghuan set down a stack of his secret reports in front of Prince Jing. Ye Shizi was normally very lively, and it was rare for him to look so solemn. When he put the reports down, Liu stopped swimming around his fish tank as well, afraid of missing a single piece of information. The Emperor had Ye Qinghuan and his father, the Duke of Chang'an, to stay behind after the banquet. Ye Qinghuan had acted guarded and restrained at the banquet, thinking he wouldn't stand out, but the Emperor still chose him to marry the Princess of Ginger. Those unbelievable words on the letter were slowly becoming reality. The Emperor did ask for the Duke of Chang'an's opinion, but a marriage like this was a national affair, and Ye Qinghuan knew well that his father was loyal to the Emperor and would not disagree. And thus his marriage was decided upon. But it wasn't life after marriage Ye Qinghuan was worried about. The letter stated that the second prince would frame him for killing the Princess of Ginger. Clearly she was also a victim. Ye Qinghuan was determined to thwart the second prince's plans. After the second prince was dealt with, it would be the princess's decision whether or not she still wanted to go through with the marriage. He kept an eye on the second prince and the sixth prince ever since he received the letter. Since Ye Shiji's marriage was established, There had been many more people coming in and out of Mu Tianzhao's manor. The second prince was definitely plotting something. With Prince Jing occasionally reminding him to be skeptical, Ye Qinghuan also didn't completely believe what was written in the letter. The more its contents came true, the more cautious he needed to be. His people soon uncovered the second prince's plot. Uh-oh. On the day Ye Qinghuan and the princess were to enter the palace and thank the emperor, the second prince planned to lure the princess of Jinzhi to Yanyu Pavilion and kill her there. He would then lure. I don't know why that word is tripping me up. He would then lure Ye Qinghuan there too, to take the blame. As long as Ye Qinghuan stepped into Yanyu Pavilion, he would find his fiancée's corpse with his own sword in her chest. The second prince planned to have someone steal it from Chang'an Manor beforehand, so he could plant it as proof that Ye Shiji had been the one to kill her. The stage thus set, the second prince would lead a group of imperial guards to Yanyu Pavilion and capture Ye Shiji red-handed. In the face of such concrete evidence, there was nothing Ye Qinghuan could say to save himself. The second prince intended to frame Ye Qinghuan for sabotaging the marriage and killing the princess. It matched with most of the mysterious information. It matched what most of the mysterious informant had written, but there were some parts of the letter that didn't match. For example, the letter had warned them that the sixth prince had some part in it as well, and asked Ye Shiji to not trust the sixth prince. Ye Qinghuan was only able to find out information about the second prince. The sixth prince hadn't made any moves. Compared to the second prince, who was used to putting on a mask around others, or the third prince, who jumped at any opportunity to compete with the second prince, the sixth prince was simply transparent, even at an important. Oof. My consonants and vowels, my consonants and vowels, consonants and vowels, my consonants and vowels. Even at an important event. Christ, why is that so hard to say? Even at an important event like the imperial banquet, he didn't even try to scoot closer to the emperor. Ye Qinghuan wondered if the letter had been written incorrectly. After all, there were so many incorrect characters. It was a miracle that he'd had the patience to finish reading it. But since the sixth prince hadn't done as the letter had said he would, there was no way to tell who the sixth prince was going to harm. Prince Jing and Ye Qinghuan discussed it several times over, but in the end they decided they should still have someone keep an eye on the sixth prince. They also found out that the second prince had secretly prepared arsenic. It was clear that he meant to poison someone, but it was unclear who. At the very least, it could be the Princess of Jinzhi, because she had to die by Ye Shiji's sword so he could be framed. Poisoning would only complicate matters. Oh, it couldn't be the Princess of Jinzhi. Ye Qinghuan made the necessary preparations on his end, and the imperial decree was issued shortly during the Dragon Boat Festival. Very soon he would have to enter the palace to thank the emperor for his engagement. Prince Jing, meanwhile, had agreed to enter the palace with Ye Shiji. On the day Ye Shiji was due to thank the emperor, Prince Jing changed into a lighter outfit, put on a black one, and casually threw on a royal blue outer robe made of cotton with a silver trim. He's so pretty. Ordinary people weren't allowed to carry swords into the palace, but since Prince Jing was a prince, not only did he have a sword hanging from his waist, He also calmly shoved a dagger into his cloud-patterned boots, as if he was going to fight the second prince to death. Go for it, my boy. Liu swam around anxiously in his crystal fish tank. He wanted to go too. Since Prince Jing never got together with the little concubine, the House of Chang'an had no reason to help the third prince. He didn't know whether the second prince or sixth prince would still follow the plot in the book, and beside, what if there were other details he missed when he last read it? Sorry, my mouth is like really dry. He couldn't for the life of him remember the name of the imperial princess and the sixth prince killed in the book. It was only mentioned in a single sentence, so she couldn't even be considered cannon fodder. Thus, all he could do was remind Ye Qinghuan to keep an eye out for the sixth prince, and trust that Ye Shiji and Prince Jing would work together. If the sixth prince was to make a move, he was certain that they could stop it. Sorry, my tongue is so dry, even though I'm drinking so much tea, that it's hard to speak. Ooh. All he wanted was to stay by Prince Jing and receive first-hand information to prevent the worst-case scenario. He assumed Prince Jing would take him, but the crystal bottle was never brought out. That meant he wouldn't be taken along. It would be impossible for him to enter the palace on his own if Prince Jing didn't take him. Liu flapped his tail and jumped into a tea bowl from the crystal fish tank. After a few consecutive jumps, he planned to jump into the crystal bottle that was currently laying horizontally on the table. But since the bottle was smooth, the wet little carp slipped off the bottle before he could stabilize himself and almost landed on the table head first. Prince Jing, with his sharp eyes and quick reflexes, scooped him up and put him into the petal-shaped tea bowl nearby. Sob, 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 Liu wailed internally. Has Prince Jing made up his mind about not taking me, since he's not putting me in the bottle? Liu jumped again. This time he bravely leapt onto Prince Jing's shoulder, and used his fins to grab tightly onto his clothing. He felt like he turned into a majestic eagle, shielding his master from the wind and rain from his position on his shoulder. In reality, his wet fins soon made Prince Jing's shoulder damp. Liu started thumping on Prince Jing's shoulder. That's not what I wanted to do. Prince Jing wiped away the water on his face and picked up his fish. Liu knew Prince Jing wasn't happy. He'd been the prince's pet for so long, and he rarely lifted Liu by his head. He would only do this when something was wrong. Was his master angry? Knowing he'd made a mistake, the little carp tried to sweetly wrap around Prince Jing's finger, but since he was held up by his head, his tail couldn't reach that far and only rubbed against Prince Jing's palm instead. Prince Jing thought the little fish wanted to come out and play. Perhaps since he'd taken Liu everywhere with him lately, the fish assumed that he could play every day. But not tonight. It was very likely he and Ye Qinghuan might have to fight against the second prince. Never mind whether or not it was convenient, the fish would probably be uncomfortable. Prince Jing was originally planning to leave him with Wang Ji, but his fish even jumped onto his shoulder after failing to get into the crystal bottle. It seemed like he was spoiled too much and had become too bold. Prince Jing silently criticized the fish. Okay, stop licking. Okay, stop. Okay, stop. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks. Okay. Prince Jing silently criticized the fish, but now that he thought about it, if he let his fish in the residence, he might become victim to the thief again. Either way, going to the palace would result in getting people in the palace involved, and he would definitely go to Jingtai Hall. Why didn't he just take the fish to Jingtai Hall for a few hours and ask Wang Ji to come along? Prince Jing let out a silent sigh of resignation as he placed the fish carefully into the crystal bottle, then changed his outer robes. You're gonna fall, you're gonna fall, you're gonna fall, you're gonna fall. Okay. She's changing position. Liu was thrilled. He was getting to enter the palace even though he had done nothing wrong. Ah, my plan worked. Why you scream about it, bro? Bro. Prince Jing brought his fish along and met Ye Qinghuang at the palace gate. Just as Prince Jing was holding onto the crystal bottle, Ye Qinghuan was holding Zhang Feng's leash. Ye Qinghuan smiled. I knew you'd bring your fish. I brought Zhang Feng too, so they can keep each other company while we're attending to business. No way! Liu was floored. He had business to attend to as well. He wasn't here to keep a dog company. As soon as Ye Qinghuan had finished speaking, Zhang Feng excitedly reached his head over and poked the crystal bottle with his nose. The crystal bottle was larger than the tea bowls, but it still felt like it was wide enough. What? No, I skipped a sentence. It still felt like Zhang Feng could hold the entire thing in his mouth if he opened it wide enough. The crystal bottle was narrow and thin, so when Zhang Feng licked the bottle, Liu felt like the dog's teeth were suddenly much closer to him too. Even though he was already very familiar with Zhang Feng, it still made Liu a little nervous. Prince Jing handed Wang Ji the crystal bottle. Wang Ji had already brought over the white and blue porcelain fish tank they used at Jingtai Hall before, and he put the little fish inside it. Liu breathed a sigh of relief, finally feeling safe. Before the day they entered the palace, Prince Jing and Ye Qinghuan had agreed to put the Princess of Jinju's safety first, in case the second prince really did end up harming her. But since neither of them were close with her, it would be inconvenient to send someone directly to her. Inspired by the letter Ye Qinghuan received, Prince Jing decided to write an anonymous letter to the Princess of Jinju, stating that someone was plotting against her. Oh my god, we're all moving at the— oh no, we stopped. Prince Jing came up with the idea, and Ye Qinghuan was the one who delivered it. Since Ye Shiji oversaw the king and princess of Jinju's safety, nobody would suspect a thing if he delivered them a letter. It was rumored that the king of Jinju was furious when he received the letter and had summoned his trusted advisors to examine it for an entire night to try to determine the intent of the writer. For the safety of his daughter, the king ordered high-ranking guards to accompany her everywhere at all times, even when she entered the palace to give thanks to the emperor. The emperor didn't know his reasons. He just thought the king was being too protective since the palace was quite safe. But it was a trivial matter, and he didn't want to limit the king of Jinju over this. So the princess of Jinju was surrounded by 16 high-ranked guards at every turn. And those were only the visible ones. There were probably many more hidden around her. The second prince's plan would not succeed as long as the princess was safe. A few days ago, the second prince's people had snuck into Chang'an Manor under Ye Qinghuan's secret, watchful eyes to give the second prince a nice present. To give the second prince a nice present, Ye Qinghuan had picked a special sword and let them steal it so the second prince would think everything was going according to plan. After settling their pets down, Prince Jing and Ye Qinghuan started to wait. Soon, an aide came to report that a stranger of unknown origin had tried to get close to the Princess of Jinju, but her guards spotted the person and beat him up quite badly. Idiot. Prince Jing and Ye Qinghuan exchanged a look. They both guessed that the second prince must have sent that person to lure the princess of Jinzhou over. We should go, Ye Qinghwan said softly. It was time to head to Yanyu Pavilion and say hello to the second prince. Prince Jing nodded at Wang Ji, patted the little carp on his head, and headed into the night with Ye Qinghwan and his men. Li Yu watched Prince Jing leave. He stopped at the fish tank, quietly analyzing the situation. Why hadn't the sixth prince made a move yet? Most likely because Prince Jing wasn't with Chu Yanyu yet, and the third prince and sixth princes had not yet won the support of the House of Chang'an. There was no need for them to take a risk now. The current situation was just the second prince's one-man show, but Liu didn't really understand why the second prince persisted with this plan, even though the sixth prince had already retreated. Perhaps narrow-minded and short-sighted people always made the same decisions. The only thing Liu could do now was wait for information on Jingtai Hall. Just then he heard a light click. Zhongfeng, who seemed to be sleeping near the fish tank, raised his head, alert. It wasn't Wang Ji. Li was familiar with Wang Ji's footsteps, and the sound had come from the window. Wang Ji was in Jingtai Hall, and he definitely wouldn't climb through the window. Illuminated by the soft glow of the candle, a black shadow sprang into the room, through the window. Who was it? Liu immediately thought of the female assassin who tried to kill Prince Jing, and his fishy body started to tremble. Zhongfeng, as expected of a dog who wanted to protect his fish friend, immediately started barking wildly. The black figure loitered in front of the table for a bit, and was just about to walk over when Zhongfeng leapt toward the person and bit him on the hand, causing him immense pain. What's happening? Wang Ji's voice rang out, and the surrounding guards were alerted as well. As the situation put him at a disadvantage, the black figure left the same way he came, holding his injured hand all the way. Wang Ji was very frustrated that he hadn't caught the man, but thankfully both fish and dog were fine. Wang Ji, relieved, brought a box of fish food from the table to feed Master Fish and Master Dog. Zhongfeng's tail wagged happily. Wang Ji put the fish food into a jade plate, and Zhongfeng was just about to eat some when something occurred to Liu. He thought of how the black figure had rummaged around on the table for a bit, and a particular feeling rose to his chest. Liu immediately flapped his tail and whacked a blue stone, one of the ones he used to play with, toward the jade plate. Since he used excessive force, the stone knocked the plate over, and the fish food ended up on the ground. Wang Ji was surprised. The little carp rarely lost his temper like this. Master Fish, what's wrong? Wang Ji's gaze landed on the fallen fish food, and he suddenly seemed to think of something. Could it be that? Wang Ji quickly took out a silver needle from inside of his robes. Nobody would think to test for poison in pet food. Wang Ji hoped he was just overthinking, but he feared the worst. The silver needle poked into the fish food, and when he pulled it out a short while later, the tip was already black. Arsenic! Liu's heart skipped a beat. The fish food was really poisoned. Sob, sob, sob. I was almost poisoned. How scary! Since he was basically the only one who ate that food, Liu was certain that someone wanted to harm him. Soon enough, Wang Ji reached the same conclusion. With Prince Jing away, Wang Gonggong took charge and ordered someone to put Master Fish and Zhongfeng into a room without windows. He personally took up watch outside the room, determined to not let anyone slip by again. Okay, that's the end of the chapter. The next chapter is called Fishy First Aid. Oh god, I love me some Hurt Comfort. I love it, 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 I love it. Okay, It's great. He didn't die. Yay. No way. Alright, my voice is completely shot. I'm pretty sure you can tell. Oh boy. This dog is still being cute on my lap. She's such like... She just melts. She's so weird too. Like, what even are you? She, she has freaky anatomy. I don't know. And by that I mean like she's so floppy and she literally just melts, and everywhere she sleeps she just like spreads out. Anyway, that is the end of this stream. I will see you on Monday. Monday probably at 6 a.m. rather than p.m. Probably. Maybe like 5 a.m. or something. We'll see. We'll see. I'll see you then. I'm gonna go because my throat hurts. My throat hurts quite a bit. But this was great. These 3 chapters were very exciting. And I can't wait for the next couple of chapters because it seems like some more exciting things are happening, and yeah, it's like really close to the end of the book. So yeah, I'll see you on Monday. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. I should tell you do outros. Thanks for watching. Keep being gay, I guess. I'll see you later. Bye bye.